Oh, today on Crazy Car Project, we finally set up the quick check that's been in the background for a year now.
The thing I've been promising. It's happening. I am so happy.
Well, we finally have no Subaru in here.
True.
And I got it cleaned so I can actually move in here.
I kid, but there's a lot of things that went into this, including fixing and selling a Subaru.
Well, trying to fix the Subaru and selling it. Someone had engine, needed car.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, a whole binder of what not to do. More books.
Yep.
And I've got even more books over here. There's books, books, and more books.
These are not a sponsor for us. I bought this out of my own pocket.
To make working on the Lexus easier.
Well, it was that, and in all seriousness, there is a scene in Working on the Subaru where he lifted the car with his legs to slide out from beneath the car. That was the moment I said, okay, time to buy something
I
for
was
this.
also lifting it with this.
Yes.
And we have all these blocks for these, and then look what came in with this part. Even more blocks. We have blocks with blocks and blocks.
The kid in me who loves Legos is very happy.
They're even like Legos. They interlink like a Lego. I might be able to stack blocks high enough to lift the truck. Probably not. Ooh, will it do this? No, not quite. Don't match that way. Oh, lines. Which the plugs have fallen out of, which is real reassuring. They're okay. The plug just fell out. There we go, they're back in. And unboxing. More blocks. And a box inside of a box. Let's see what's in the box Didn't end up filming the decrating of those. Those were both in two little mini crates. We have all our seals and oil. So, oil, fittings, and seals. No, that's thread sealing. That's thread sealant. Nice. No Teflon tape for them. And then a nice heavy box. And we've got a hydraulic pump that's leaked a bunch of hydraulic oil. Not anything extreme, just a little bit. So I'm sure it's not full. We probably need to get hydraulic oil because don't have any. You have options, up and down. And you can attach all the paperwork to it. Maybe they actually put a hole in them. Okay, well, it's unpacked. Now I get to read the book to figure out what to do. Still working on getting set up. Went and stored and got hydraulic oil for that, and just getting everything together. Got the pump back, the main pump control up there, fittings, and the jacks here. I'm going to start assembling. I don't know how much of the assembling we're going to film because it's pretty well straightforward. I think I've watched the video a couple times. They do provide a instructional video that is helpful beyond the manuals, which so far the manual it's got detailed stuff, but I think the video is actually more helpful than this. And what I find interesting is everything shows tape, Teflon tape, and what they provide you with is liquid thread seal. So that's yeah.
Good thing we got Teflon tape if need be.
Yeah, I got Teflon tape. I will try the liquid. It should. Well, I don't know. I may do Teflon tape. I've traditionally ended up doing Teflon tape because I've had mixed results with liquid seal and stuff. So we'll see. Hoses, lots of hoses. All right, so kind of go through the tools you're gonna need. Ended up, did hex. From what I got, you're gonna get different things with different ones, go to different units. But it looks like there's some standard, some metric on this one. The hex bolts to fit everything ended up being 6, 5, and 4. Although the 4 for the breather valve and the 6 for the plugs are probably the only ones you're actually going to need for assembly. The 5 is for the component hexes, which hopefully you don't have to do anything with. You shouldn't have to do anything with. Wrench sizes ended up being 14 millimeter, 22 millimeter, 17 millimeter, and a 11/16. These are 11/16. And the 14 is actually for the fitting itself, just in case you need some help holding it. You don't want to tighten it by that, but you might need some just holding it in the right spot. So you may or may not need that. The 11/16 is actually for this fitting, but it seems to be the only thing that's still that size. All the other fittings were metric. Those were 22, these were 17. And then an adjustable wrench, a large adjustable wrench, which you shouldn't need, but it'll fit that. And there's a few other ones that are, you may or may not need a wrench for. And then those, if you really need a wrench, you can get a wrench, but so far I hadn't run any of these plugs. These plastic plugs are so tight you need anything to get them off. But then you can just use a pair of pliers because they're just shipping plugs. Something I'm doing that's not what is kind of shown in the procedure, but I'm doing because I found that when I broke these loose, these plugs loose, there's hydraulic oil already in these hydraulic cylinders, some. I'm going ahead and lifting it to the point where you have to have it to bleed, which I've also ended up having to use an extra block, but I'm setting it under a different spot, which I've got to move the blocks back down. I just realized I've set them in the wrong spot because that's not a support. But either way, take that one off. Setting it here in the middle makes it easier to get it up than having to try to slide under or whatever. That's just a good quick way to do it. And they say use 2 big blocks, 1 small block. That seems to be about right to tilt it. Now 1 down, 1 to go. And yes, these have rubber gaskets with a bolt that you seal, an upper bolt. But since they gave liquid, I'm putting a little liquid on the threads too, so these are going to be double sealed. Just be mindful not to get it so low on the threads that it could get into the cylinder.
Yep. And he's got that one done already.
But this is overkill. And I know it is, but whatever. I don't like having leaky hydraulics.
Better to have too much and not enough.
And this was the 6. Let's see if this one leaks. Yep. See, these are already loaded. So it's already leaking hydraulic fluid. I got a towel down there. And I need another towel because this is getting really slick. Alright, yep. Getting these assembled. I went with Teflon tape that I had, a decent one, because the liquid stuff they sent with it takes 24 hours to set up, and I want to bleed this and test it today, so Teflon tape it is. But on this fitting, it's a set fitting, kind of like a parking brake, or like a brake system hydraulics. So no tape on it because it's actually sealed by putting pressure with the 2 cups. The thread doesn't really seal it. And that's to keep your feet back so this falls. If you have it up like this, if it falls off, it don't fall on your feet because it will hurt. These things are heavy. And then these components are assembled. They just have to be, I put air in this and bleed it and all that stuff, but first I gotta assemble that. I got the hoses assembled. Getting ready to put fluid in this, got these on. I ended up only using this on the one little thing, even though it says not to in there, just because I don't want to have to fix that on the cylinders. But on these, I just did the gaskets.
That thing there's what I'm talking about.
And they say in here, the reason why they don't include Teflon tape anymore with this is because they've had a lot of problems with Teflon tape getting into the system. Which I use Teflon tape, I'm used to it, and you don't have to wait for it to cure. But there is one thing with that, and that is when you're using Teflon tape, use it on this one, you do not want any Teflon tape on that first thread. And a lot of times, if you have enough thread depth on what you're fitting, you don't want to, I back it up behind the second thread back, because you do not want getting any tape into the system. It can clog stuff up. And also, about 3 rounds on it is all you need. A lot of times you don't need that much, but generally that's max. They even say in the book that's max they recommend, and that is a good rule. And now for the fluid, they talked about filling it within about 1/2 inch of the top of the tank, which this already has about that much in it. So I got a gallon. I probably only needed 2 quarts, but I would have just got quarts, but I didn't see one that just had quarts. So, and 43.
Okay, so we used the STP tire tool to inflate that. It's supposed to be what?
Between 40 and 50. This one's still 37, so we're gonna have some issues. This is 3rd try. The valves are a little odd set, so if you have something that's got a very shallow plunger,
Like that one?
but like both of those, it won't engage. .42 and a half, and that one's at 43. That's close enough.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the next step?
Next step is going to be to hook everything set up. So it's going to hook the lines up, lay these back down, cycle them. I think it's 3 times. And I'll follow the cycling instructions. Video and the book both have them. And we may show that, but I gotta get everything laid back down, set up, so we can cycle them, and then bleed the cylinders. Which, in fact, they were already preloaded, and these air cylinders were partially preloaded too. They weren't quite at pressure, but they had some air in them, which is kind of nice. So it should make bleeding them fairly easy, hopefully.
We shall see.
Yep. And just a tip on these covers. Something I do is I push them over the threads once I have everything done. That way they don't just do that. They have some grip to them, so they'll stay in where you have them, and put them to the side so they go off, and even if you need to get them out of the way, you can put them back behind the handle. So it's just a good placement, kind of useful. And do the same thing on the hoses. Either pushed them back on the threads on the big ones. Well, I actually pushed it back on the large section here, so beyond the threads where it'll hold. And on this one, I just pushed it all the way back behind the threads, which can be annoying. If you have them running away from you, you can just leave them on the threads like that, and it'll kind of keep them from running away from you. Just something useful on these covers. Okay, got all this set up, getting ready to route these lines. The short lines actually route under, and I would suggest trying to put them between the wheels, that way you're safe. But with these are a safety catch or a lock. You twist so that little notch lines up with the lock ball, and then push it back to open it. I tested and made sure everything was fit together right before I fit them under. and then you twist it, and that locks it in place so it won't pull loose easy. And that's just how you use those. Okay, I loosened the bleeder valve and set everything up, hooked these lines up, and we're ready to start the pressurizing procedure. The plug, the hex for the plug ended up being a, I've already forgotten, it's a standard.
5/32.
I think so. Can't see with these scratched up safety. 5/32. And safety glasses and gloves for doing the hydraulics just in case there's leaks. I'm going to put towels underneath those, but start with, before you do that, we're supposed to run it a few times, up and down, and going to do that.
Let's see how loud this thing is. I expected a lot more noise.
There it goes.
So when I got this, it was about $1,800 off of Amazon. Originally purchased this because, well, A, safety, and B, convenience. C, if you want to do things like change your transmission fluid, it's easier to do stuff.
It makes
like
life a whole lot easier to be able to lift a car as opposed to having to put jacks and do both sides and everything else.
Yes.
And it does have locks. It says they say to lift it up to close to the first lock, then put it back down, do that 3 times cycle. Something else I'll go on and say, because I was talking about before, is on these quick releases, if you leave them hooked up for long periods of time without use, the springs inside of them will get weaker, they'll get compressed, so you can start running into problems with the lines leaking when they're disconnected. So in practice, if you're going to have it out of use for an extended period of time, it'd be better just to disconnect all the lines.
I'm impressed with how quiet it is.
I am too. It's not very loud. Okay, it's supposed to be down. There it goes. Starts. Yeah, I said it would be slow and jerky to start with, because you got air in the system, plus you got to work pressurizing the system.
Yes, as you know, air does not compress at the same rate as hydraulic fluid, hence the purpose of hydraulic fluid's existence, as most of y'all know, some of you may not.
And you may or may not have to do this over when you disconnect and reconnect. That's going to be part of why I was talking about if you disconnect them. If you're not going to be using them right away, if you disconnect it, it'll still a little better. So that can help a little bit. And I'm wondering if I've got this. I'm going to loosen that up a little bit more because I think it was hissing at me a little more than I think it should have.
Okay.
Let's see if our air starts to move better.
That far one there is jumping up there.
It's on the lower valve. I had a feeling that would move. Something else just with pumps, when you have the 2 valves like that and they're vertical, a lot of times the lower valve moves a little quicker than the upper valve. I've seen that on other hydraulic things.
I'm sure it'll move at the same rate when this is done and your car's on top of it. But
It'd be close anyways, with weight on it especially. That's part of it. There's no weight on it, and it's meant to operate with weight.
Yep. Or it is, and is when it's bled or red. Yesterday was horses, today it's golf carts. Tomorrow's going to be unicycles.
No, tomorrow's lawnmower day.
Every day is lawnmower day.
Yes, but it's not use your lawnmower, it's drive your lawnmower.
That's what I meant. You've seen some of our neighbors.
last cycle, so now once they go down and depressurize, bleed them. I gotta put towels under the fins and I'll bleed them.
They're getting slower on the third time go around.
They're getting more pressure built up, no weight on them. But I will, well, they show you bleeding one at a time. On the initial, I'm going to bleed them both, since they're both been pumped up. And then do the final bleed separately. Okay, now we bleed. Let's see if I'm turning this the right way. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Make sure you wear gloves and safety glasses, because you do not want hydraulic fluid in you. There we go, start getting air. I think that's all the air now, is it? Tighten it up. I'll do the other side. Okay, did the first bleed. I'm repeating. It didn't say to repeat, but I'm repeating because I know what to look for. This one's dropping smoothly. This one's still jumping. This one probably still has air in the system. This one might, but it's acting more calm, so it's probably in better shape. Just repeating the procedure again. I'm going to do 3 and then bleed it again. Alright, we've got the jacks all together and done. As you can tell, it's the next day. Due to just scheduling, I don't have time to get a car on the jacks and do anything with it. So you're going to have to join us with the next project where we're using these jacks to see the jacks in use. But I did get them all bled and working. They seem to function fine. Even managed to run it in such a way that while it's stored with the hoses on, it's not a trip hazard. So, but typically, if it wasn't going to be used in the next week, I would have the hoses removed, to have them fixed up, and have everything more out of the way. But this should be coming up pretty quick with a new project. So, till next time, like, share, subscribe, and have a good one.
Yes. And when you store it, make sure you're not running the hose over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure you don't run the hose over, and make sure you don't set the roller wheels on the hoses either.
Yep.
Okay, so,
like, share, subscribe.
have a good one.
How are we feeling tonight under starlit skies? Tell me that you trust in me. How far can we go? Living like Bonnie